All righty. Well, happy Saturday afternoon. What's everybody snacking on? I just finished a sandwich with some dill pickle chips on it. No snacks over here, though, at the moment. Just coffee. All right. That's all right. Coffee's a good thing. I'll probably have some coffee when I get out of this live stream. So, welcome in to those of you here who are here early or slash on time. I appreciate you being here. Today is the first day, oddly enough, that I just barely made it to my live. Uh, I had to take Mrs. Edge in for some shots this morning and some things at the clinic, which we have to go further downtown on weekends. And then I had to run around and do grocery shopping and run a bunch of errands and all that stuff and get that done for both of us before the live. And so I just finished eating. And here I am. Anyway, thanks everybody who's jumped in. Jason Brown's in the house. So let's see how many Saturday minions have assembled here. Let's look. We got Gonzo, my brother from another mother, and moderator extraordinaire. We got Top Dog. That's right. We got Top Dog, the old Marine, here in the house with me. Thank you, Top Dog, for all the wonderful shout outs and channel links you posted up the other night in Visa stream. Love it, fella. Appreciate that. Let's see. He said, you do well, and you, how goes it for you? So, well, there you go. I just told you I had a busy morning, but generally speaking, things are going pretty good. We got some good news about the chemo that's working, it's doing its thing. A little bit more about that later. Let's see who else we got in here. We got Top Dog. We got my boy Neil McKenzie. One of my friends. Neil, I'm still holding you to that record listening party, and I do have vinyl records here on the floor next to me that I plan on showing and talking about in this stream. So that will interest you, my friend. But you and I need to get together one night and sit down and share a couple records and all that. So I'll be perfectly fine with coming down to your place if you want to do that, but we need to do that soon. Let's see. Neil says watching on the big screen. Cool. I'm huge. Huge. My head doesn't need to be any bigger, so hopefully your TV is not that large. Jason Brown is in the house, throwing out some greetings. Byron Kennedy is in the house too. Another one of my minions here on a Saturday. I love it. Hopefully, you're not having to work, build too many cabinets or kitchen woodworking stuff today, and you're able to chill out and relax a little bit more. Let's see. No problem doing everyone a favor and introducing them to your channel. Yeah, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. The channel has grown a lot. I got a couple of good bumps from Cole, kind of throwing me out there and promoting me on one of his giveaways. And obviously, Bees is a great guy, and he's always been super helpful. That's one of the things I do love about the community. Everybody really sticks together and tries to help everybody out. Jason Brown says, I got about 120 records in the living room and about 3,000 in the basement. 3,000 is just a crazy number. It's taken me the better part of my adult life off and on to collect. I don't know what I got, 800 maybe, something like that. I know I got 500 in the main Calyx cabinet in my room, and then probably another 300 plus or whatever, couple hundred more in the spare room. Let's see who else we got in here. We will talk about records and music a little later, I promise, because that's one of my favorite things. Native Wildman says it's raining out. Ugh. Well, hey, guess what? You got something to do for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Come share some time with me and all these other crazy minions. Let's see who else is in here today. Mike Jernak says, hello, brothers. Hello, Mike. We got Will B is in the house. What's up, Will? Another one of my regular minions dropping by here on a Saturday. Like I said, if I get 15 or 20 people in the stream on Saturday, I'm pretty happy because this is more of a chill session. I can't stick around. I'm out with the wife. Well, that's okay, brother. Hit the like button from your phone or whatever you're on, and hang out as long as you can. But we'll be here for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So if you get a chance when you get home to jump back on, that's good. If not, I appreciate you stopping by, saying hi, and smacking the like button for me. You know it all helps. Let's see who we got here. Darnell is in the house too. Here's another one of my minions right here. This is one of my boys. Darnell's here, so I dig that. I always hit the like button. Will says I always hit the like button. Well, thank you, brother. Some people forget. It's not that I don't think you guys will. I know if you're here, you'll do that. But it's always nice to just remind everybody because sometimes people get wrapped up in the stream and they forget. Iggy is here, Campfire Leatherworks. If you do not already know this, if you are one of those people who doesn't catch all my lives, which most of you guys do, Iggy, longtime follower, faithful minion, has started a leatherworking company. I just ordered a couple items, one for me and one for Mrs. Edge from her. Good looking stuff. Go check it out if you get the chance, especially if you like leather goods. So great to have you here, Iggy. Thanks for stopping by on a Saturday. Yep, Will, no problem, man. I know you had to take off, so we'll catch you later. If you get a chance to pop back in, that's okay. If not, I will see you on Tuesday, okay? Thanks so much for stopping by. So now that I got a few folks in the stream, let's see here. I'll try to greet anybody else that pops in. Michael Morgan. Oh my God, how could I miss Mimo? Here's my other moderator. There he is. There's Michael Morgan. Boom. Right. Humorous Canadian fellow that he is, always throwing in interesting things during my lives and other people's lives. So I dig it, and I'm very happy to have him as one of my moderators here. Nick Martino just popped in too. He says, I never forget to slice that like button. Why? Because it's always the very first thing I do. Love you all. Yeah, I try to do that too. When I first log into a stream, before I start looking at the comments, the first thing I usually do, if it's somebody I watch every week, is I just go ahead and hit their like button. And then I jump over and start digging through comments. But it's hard because, sometimes you see something really cool on the screen and you want to get involved in that conversation. So I know how that goes. And that's good. That's what we want. Yes. Thank you, Michael, for throwing up the link for Campfire Leatherworks. Again, new vendor for our community, somebody who's been a long time community member and a channel subscriber and a good member of the community overall. So awesome. Stacy Bolsterblades just popped in. There we go. This is another one of my minion extraordinaires who happens to be one of the best moderators on the knife community and in YouTube. So good day to you, Stacy. Glad to have you in here. She says, good afternoon, Eionan and fellow minions. I'm getting ready to babysit, so I'm listening. That's okay. It's all good. Listening's fine. Keep an eye on those little ones, right? Let's see who else popped in here in the last few minutes. Anybody new? Nick Martino's in here too. He says, same with doing random acts of kindness. It only takes a second. Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that. And I do agree with that sentiment 100%. I don't think there's enough of that. And I don't necessarily mean with everyone having to feel like they got to go out every day and do something magnanimous for someone. Sometimes it's as simple as just holding the door open for an old person entering the building, right? Or taking somebody's shopping cart at the grocery store and taking it back for them when they look like, they're walking with a cane or whatever, right? Maybe it is something more different, like buying somebody a meal that looks hungry or something, right? I don't like to typically just hand people that are asking for help cash because I know that sometimes ends up being alcohol or drugs. But my point is, without digressing too far, is there are lots of little simple things you can do every day to help people that you run into have a better experience and make the world better. And I think we should all try to do that. There's not enough of that going on anymore. Let us see who else is in here. Native Wildman says, wow, my new short got over 4,000 views. Isn't it crazy? I've had shorts I put up that were really awesome with super cool knives in them or super cool content, and they get like 300-400 views. And then I'll have another, like I did that $15 Rough Rider budget folder, right? I forget what it's called, that came out. And I threw that in a video and it got like 1,500 views in like 2 days. And I was like, what the hey? Right. And then you put up something really nice. You put up like a nimble or something and it gets like 300 views. It just doesn't make any sense what actually catches on. Nick says, absolutely, small acts can have huge impacts. I totally agree, my friend, 100%. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Letting a stranger out of a parking lot in front of you. It's free to be decent. Yeah, exactly, right? So little things like that. So, it sucks though when the people that don't have time for anybody cut in front of people in line, things like that. So, we can offset that a little bit by just being good people every day. All right, so let's see. What else did I have to talk about today? Oh, I usually say this way before I get 5 or 10 minutes into the stream. So I wanted to, like I always have been doing lately, I want to make sure that if you are a listener, if you are a rewatcher, especially for those of you folks that are here live in the stream today, right? Thank you. If you're a new person who's not comfortable yet jumping in and saying hi, I would encourage you to do this. I would encourage you to at least say hello, like I say down here on the bottom. Hit the like button and say hi to the folks in the chat when you get here, just so we know you're here, just so we know, hey, somebody's hanging out with us today, right? You don't have to talk if you don't want, but it's always nice to know that somebody new is following along. I lurked for a long time in this community for a couple of years before I ever really participated and then became a channel content creator and all that. But I always usually jumped in and said hello. It was under my real name in my old account. But I would usually jump in every once in a while and say hello, just so people got used to seeing me around. But I didn't participate until about a year ago. So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid if you're new to jump in here. I don't have a ton of people in my streams, but sometimes I see a number that doesn't always match what's here. So let us see what else we got going on. Stacy says, yes, the smallest kindness can turn out to be what saves a person that day, or maybe that's the only thing you were created for, and the rest is just extra. True, true. I've had a few situations with helping people. I think I told one of those stories about the guy at the McDonald's that I helped out. Iggy says, how is Mrs. Edge today? Okay, guys. So I usually give you an update at some point, but since Iggy asked, so even though the treatment is going well and the chemo is working, she's having some harder days now because she's further along in the chemo, and the 3 shots that she gets Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the one I just took her, came back from taking her to this morning, they stimulate white blood cell production, but they also make your bones achy, and they add an extra layer of nausea to the already layer that's there from the chemo. So she was very nauseous this morning. It wasn't a good morning for her. I brought her home. She went straight in and took a nap. She's feeling a little better now. Generally speaking, everything is going fine, but there's going to be some of those days that are, they're all kind of this tough, so to speak, and some of them are down here, but then there's going to be those days where it's kind of right up here. And that's where that is today. But she's feeling better. And the treatments are working, and things are going along fine, but this is part of the process, and it's very difficult to watch somebody you love be sick all the time. So thank you guys, all of you, for the support. I appreciate it. So that's all I'm going to say on that for now, because that's really the biggest update that there is for the moment. Mike Jernak says, I'm good. The kids are sick. Hope everything is good with you. Yeah, and that's one of the things, right? We are lucky that we don't have small children, so we're able to kind of deal with this and have the peace and quiet that she needs and have the time that she needs. So yes, Nick Martino is asking, how's Mrs. Edge doing? And that's one of the things, like, she watches these live streams. So either most of the time she watches them live, but a lot of times she'll put them on afterwards and just let them run while she's in there crafting or making jewelry or sewing or doing all of the stuff that she does. So she sees and hears a lot of these comments that you guys throw out there. So thank you very much. That's very much appreciated. And she does know that you guys are thinking of her and praying for her. So thanks. Kindness is never wasted. That is true. I totally agree with that. Neil says it's time to change CDs. Yep, get up, go find yourself something else that's good for listening, right? Iggy says, all good here, Mike. Sorry about the kids. I hope they'll be feeling, I think she was supposed to say feeling better soon. She said freezing better soon. I think that was supposed to be feeling. I'm actually in most streams, and unfortunately, a lot of the time I'm busy, but I'm always listening. Thank you, Nick. I do see you in a lot of streams. I do see you come on at some point and greet everybody. The other night, it was like that for me too. Last night with Bees, like, I was off and on listening. I was trying to do things here in the house, and so I got to comment in a few instances, but I didn't get to sit down the whole time in front of it. And I like Bees' streams. He's one of my favorites. And there's always a lot of folks from the community there. That's the biggest reason I enjoy going to Bees' lives, because he gets 200 people in there, and that's 200 of my friends, right? So again, that's it's always a good thing. It's always a good vibe, and I know not everybody can comment all the time. Old Fart's in here. He says, Gold Fart with sharp things says, good vibes. That is good. I agree. Scott is in here. Where's my boy Scott? I know he's in here, but anyway, Scotty's in here too. Scott N. Shout out to you, brother. I always appreciate what you do for the community, and I dig looking at all your pictures of knives and food because those are two things I really like: food and knives. All right, so I had a couple of chat topics. Let's get going on those. Let's kind of dig into some of that here. I always like to play off the comments too. Chivalry still exists. It does. It does. It's not as common as it used to be. Iggy says, "Sorry to feel that out. Hear that. I hope she feels better in real soon in relationship to Mrs. Edge. Yeah, she's doing better this afternoon. It was a rough morning for her. So the whole food. She loves food, but it's one of those deals where some food she just can't eat right now. It's just not capable of it. Yeah, I would agree with that, Nick. If we care about you, then we definitely care about your loved ones. And that's one of the things I love about the community. It's one of the most genuine communities around. All right, so yeah, a lot of love and hearts and sharing out there to people. Bees was not as fun as usual last night, kind of negative, and the chat was way fast, hard to keep up. I didn't catch all of these. Like I said, I caught like an early portion of it, but not the later end of it. So I don't know where that goes. But one thing I will say about bees is I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and I both respect him for it, but I also feel like it's kind of a little bit changed the tone of his lives. Is that there's been more advertising by him kind of mixed in, and he does it in a really nice way, but it has kind of changed the dynamic a tiny bit of some of his live streams. Not all the time, but I just noticed that does happen a little bit more. And I get it. He's trying to grow his channel. He's popular. A lot of people tune in. So like I said, I love Bees. He's one of my favorite lives. I catch him every week. It's just little things that I notice, and some of you guys might notice that too. But yeah, the more people he gets, the more chat responses there are, the harder it is to keep up. And I noticed that too a couple of times. By the time I finished typing something, it was like boom, I was like halfway down the page, right? I was near the bottom, and the comment I was commenting on was up here near the top. And so that's what happens when you get a lot of people in a live stream, you know. But it is what it is, and like I said, I'm happy for Bees. I'm fully in support of his channel, and he's been a good guy, and we him and I have talked a couple times by email behind the scenes. I sent him some stickers, yada yada yada. He's helped me out with a couple things that I asked him for. So yeah, Scott says I like smaller chats. It's easier to know each other. When they get too big, it can be tough on everyone. I totally agree with that, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a point where it's tough to manage, right? And I don't really want to dwell on this subject, but the incident that we had, and that's all I'm going to call it, that we had on my last live stream on my regular Tuesday lives, that's also more difficult to deal with the bigger you get. It's hard for someone like me because I only have a couple moderators who are friends of mine, and then I don't have a ton of people in the chat. But even with 50 or 60 folks like I get on my main live, sometimes it's hard to keep track of who came and who left and who's there and who's who. But yes, that it gets even harder as your channel gets much bigger. If you're, a Bees or a Neebs or even a Tri-State, right? Like you got a lot of people in your stream, it's hard to keep track of it. So you want a fun one? Come to Metal Mondays with all the zingers Scott N comes up with. Scott is always funny. It doesn't matter whose stream he's in. If Scott is in my stream, I know there's going to be some funny shit said. That's just the way Scott is. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I was getting at, Jason, right? Beezy Maze and the infomercials anymore. Yeah, I mean, it like I said, I get it. You're getting stuff, people are sending you stuff, or you're trying stuff that you really like and you're trying to talk it up. But I do notice there's a tiny shift there. There's kind of been a little kind of shift into that area. And again, I get it. Uh, let's see. I made a shelter last night out fishing. It was fun. That's cool. So, did you stay out overnight? Is that what happened? Stacy was keeping it real, period. Yeah, and again, like I would like to think that most of the community, most of the channels that have been here a little while and have people and friends as part of them, and that we know other channels, we know other content creators, and we know other people in the community. I would like to think that we're capable of taking a little bit of constructive observation. I'm not even criticizing anybody. I'm just observing something that I see. But I think I think we're most of us are adults and we can deal with that. Nobody's ever trying to say anything hurtful or negative. And if they are, then yeah, then as a community we band around those people that are being attacked, and we make sure that those other people that are doing that don't succeed. So that's, again, that's just how tight knit this community is. And the situation I had happen with the live last week is an example of that. You know, I only care about my channel, my friends in the community, and the people that show up here all the time to support me and the other channels that I'm connected with. Okay. I'm not really worried about one or two people's opinion of me. I know what the rest of you guys think. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Okay, so I wanted to. I was gonna ask everybody what their morning's been like, but I don't need to do that because everybody's been telling me how their day's been going. So, um, but anyway, yeah. So Iggy says you definitely spread the love and laughter, Scott. You make me laugh all the time. That is true. Scott is always coming up with zingers, one-liners, and funny anecdotes about things. So we love it, Scott. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Yeah, Jason, luckily I missed the drama from the last live. Yeah, well, you it was at the end, but yeah, I mean, it's okay. Let's see. What is this? Spirit of Doom says, much hurtful, many sad fifis. I don't know what you're referring to, Beard of Doom. Sorry, buddy. But by the way, welcome into the Saturday live. This the afternoon social. Scott says, "Yeah, I've been trying to avoid drama in the community at all costs." I know, and that's what made me so mad. I felt like I had such a good live this past week. I felt like my live was really good. It was good energy, good all the way through, and then right at the end, boom. And I didn't even know that that really happened until after the live stream. So again, I want to try not to dwell on that too much. We're all better though when we support each other, help each other, and accept help. Gotcha. Yep, I totally agree with that, Scott. We are better when we stick together as a community. Sky's got me crying some nights. Oh, I just got wrecked in the rain on the bike. Come home and filmed an unboxing. Ooh, oh, hopefully you didn't get hit by a car or something. Shit, dude, that's not good. Whew. Okay, so anyway, the second thing I want to do is pocket checks. So let's throw up pocket checks. Let's get those up. I do not have an exceptionally large pocket check today because I'm sitting here in a pair of sweatpants, and I had to go take my wife to the cancer center this morning downtown instead of the close clinic that I go to normally up here. But I've got some stuff here I'll show with you guys. So go ahead. Yeah, hopefully you're okay, Bearded Doom. I mean, if you're not, if you're home and filming unboxings, I'm gonna assume that you didn't get hurt too bad, right? You probably got scraped up a good bit. But if you feel any weird effects, dizziness, confusion, any of that stuff, it's probably not you drinking. It's probably it might be a result of your bicycling wreck. So please be aware of that. Okay. Yeah, just wrecked, not an actual, just wet, not an actual. Okay, good to hear. All right. So anyway, yeah. Throw up the pocket checks. Let's get those started. Nebby Cloud's in the house too. What's up, brother? I hope you're having a relaxing weekend. I am. I just barely made it here. I really did. Like I literally sat down in this chair. What? I think about 5 or 10 minutes before the live started. Said hello to Gonzo and Top Dog, and then ran off and finished a couple of other things I needed to do, and sat back down here at like 1 minute before broadcast time. So I didn't really prepare for the show today that much, a little bit. But yeah, so let's get some pocket checks out there, folks. Let's do that. Darnell says the community I started with some changing to promoting perfumes, oils, shoes, boots, lights, etc., etc. Oh, you mean they became more promotional and less chat based? You know, while you guys are getting pocket checks up there, let me tell you something. So there are live streams that are pure entertainment. There are other live streams that are more like a casual party slash get together. And then there are live streams that have no real kind of base content at all. People just get on and talk about whatever they want to talk about. This Saturday one for me is a little bit more like that. It's just a time to touch base with people on the weekends, maybe catch some people who don't make my Tuesday lives every week. My Tuesday live I treat like a talk show, right? I like that format. I treat it a little bit like a talk show where I look at the comments. It's kind of like our radio show where people are calling in. In this case, it's they're chatting in, and I kind of like that format. And that's kind of one of the things I dig about Cole's lives. His lives always feel like you're logging into kind of a late night show hosted by somebody who's kind of funny and charismatic, right? And his production is great and all that. And I'm not there, obviously. I'm not Cole, but I do try to keep the format on my Tuesdays kind of a little bit like a radio or TV talk show. And then this one is a lot more casual, but I'm not afraid to let it run when something funny happens, right? So that's kind of where we're at. And then Saturdays is a lot more loose. So let's see where we are here with the pocket checks. I think people started tossing them up. Nebu Cloud got in first. First cut, first blood drawn by Nebu Cloud. All right. He says, I've got my Spyderco PM2 and an Amethyst Alien Skull by Leandro. Yes. And some of those skulls are freaking amazing that he gets a hold of and sells. Let's see. Oh, actually, I was wrong. Jason Brown. Oh, wait, I was way wrong. There's a few other people up here. The first one I think was Top Dog. He said, Justice Suburban, Debo, blah, blah. Can't talk today. Just just the Suburban Devo Stout in my hand now. My apologies. Top Dog looks like he was first with the pocket check. I don't see anybody else in there. Second is Jason Brown, who says, still got the Best Tech Texel in the pocket from work. Very nice. Best Tech. I am carrying a Best Tech knife too. Best Tech made knife. Michael Morgan threw up Nebu Cloud's link. I already told you what Nebu Cloud's got. He's got the PM2 and the Amethyst Alien Skull. Who else is in here? Native Wildman says, I haven't got ready to go anywhere, so I took my Buck 119 with me last night. Okay, and that's fine. Sometimes, right, you haven't left the house. You haven't made, it's a late afternoon. Maybe you're just having lunch or coffee or whatever, right? So that's okay. I had to run out this morning, so I had a few things in my pocket. Michael Morgan says he's got the Hogue X5 button lock harpoon spear point. That's a cool knife. It's an unusual looking knife too. CPM 154 blue aluminum. I plan on one of my next knife purchases is going to be the Hogue Ballista. The Hogue Ballista button lock. I'm a big Hogue fan. I have a lot of their knives. I want more. The Ballista button lock is on my list of knives that I want to buy very soon. BOD, Beard of Doom, says he's rocking a Best Tech Fairchild, a Wanmu Mini Zeus zirconium spinner, and some alcoholic Mountain Dew. I take back what I said about the alcohol possibly affecting your consciousness level. Boom, there we go. Right? So he'll never know if that fall he took really is a bump to the head or too much Mountain Dew spiked with whatever is in it. I love it, Beard of Doom. That's awesome. And you're probably wearing a crazy colored shirt too. Nick Martino says, I'm pissed I missed the stout pre-order now that I'm seeing everyone getting theirs, but I'm happy for everyone that got one. For me, I did like that knife a lot. But at that time, when that pre-order was going on, I was completely tapped out financially. Like there was no way I was going to get in on one of those. And I was like, maybe it'll be popular enough, fingers crossed, that, Kevin and Colin will decide to do another run on those next year or something. That's my hope. I hope that's not the end of the stouts. I hope there's, another run on those and they go out there. I think because they were pretty popular, there's at least a chance of that, but who knows? You never know. I mean, I kept saying that about the original Nimble, and look how long it's been since we've seen one of those, right? There've been all kinds of variations, but not that knife. So Old Fart with Sharp Things has a CRKT, a Ruger Hollow Point Plus P, and a 6-leaf S102. All right, got you, brother. I got you. You're carrying a couple of things. Very nice. I like how you disguised that there. Bobo Schnoggins. Well, hello, Bobo Schnoggins. First time in this check. First of all, welcome. if you weren't here at the beginning, what I was saying is a lot of times new people come in, and I always encourage everybody to say hi, hit the like button, and at least throw out a greeting or maybe a pocket check. You don't have to talk all the time, although we love that. The more you contribute to the chat, the more fun it is. But welcome in. This is my casual stream. Every other Saturday, I do a casual stream where we just get together and talk about knives, music, our lives, whatever. And then Tuesday nights is my regular stream where I do, it's more like I said, more like a talk show or a radio show where I have certain portions of the program, that hour and a half to 2 hours that I do. So you're in the kind of laid back casual one today. So it's a good place to start because this is where I experiment and we joke around and have a little bit more casual conversation. Let's see who else is in here. And yeah, you're carrying a QSP Penguin and an off-grid enforcer. So nice. The Penguin is humongously popular in this community. Everybody loves it. It is a good go-to budget knife, especially since they start around $30, right? And then there's all different variations. I own 3 of them, so all different price points along the way. But yeah, the Penguin's a super cool knife. Let's see. Dang Ross. Yeah, another person who Dang Ross got sent over by Tri-State last week when he was doing his big giveaway. He gave one of my videos some love, and Dang Ross basically said, "Hey, I like what you're doing over here. I'm sticking around." So that's what the community's about. So big shout out to Cole and Kara over there at Tri-State EDC, and thank you, Dang, for coming in and joining the minions over here. You're part of the minion squad now. That's what I call all of my subscribers and live stream followers. So welcome in. QSP Brass Penguin. Those are nice. That's the foiled brass. That's a nice looking knife. Really nice. Matter of fact, I think that's coming to me soon as part of I think it's actually on its way now here to me as part of the Apex group that I'm in. Let's see who else. Chaz is in the house. Another one of my regular minions here has popped in. Chaz has got some awesome knives. One of these days, Chaz, you're going to have to find a little break on a Tuesday from the wife and the little one and come on and do a 5 and 5 on my live stream. I would freaking love that. So there you go. There's the challenge to you, brother. Whether you choose to accept it or not, find some time to come and do a 5 and 5 on my live one Tuesday. There will probably be a small drop, Nick. Hit lefty up. I'm not sure what that's all about. I think you're talking about the Devo stouts. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There might be more. From what I heard, there's more. Beard of Doom Cole is comedic gold. He is. And here's the thing, guys. The next time that you watch Cole, the next time you log into a Cole Bro, and I'm not talking about a special one like where his birthday one or where he did the giveaways, but just on a weekly basis, okay? I want you to think about this. When you watch Cole, I want you to watch how good he is at showing you stuff and telling you what he likes and dislikes about it without it being an actual review. I also want you to pay attention to the fact that he always works humor in, despite the fact that he's only 30 years old, he works humor in from a lot of different shows and genres of different medias and things like that throughout his whole broadcast. He's really, really good at that. He's exceptionally good at that. And that's why his live streams are so fun. He knows when to look and play off of funny comments. He knows when to crack jokes himself. He's got good timing for all that stuff, right? I have been a little bit more of a serious guy most of my life. But I do like to talk and socialize. But as I've gotten older, my circle of friends, has shrunken a lot to the people I really care about. So my style's a little different, but there's a lot of things I admire about Cole. There's a lot of things I like about Bees as well. Bees is really good and very smooth with the way he delivers certain things. So, I like what I do, and I'm trying to constantly evolve in hopefully a natural way, the way I do live streams. But again, I would totally agree with you, Bear Doom. Cole is comedic gold. He really is. Like, he always has things in his life. Like, South Park Jesus was fucking hysterical when I watched his 30th birthday live. That was just absolute. That was comedy gold. So, Dang Ross Brass for the winner. I love brass. Yep. We're talking about that, right? I don't like copper because copper smells bad and it leaves your hands smelling bad when it patinas. Brass, I don't mind. Hey, look at Lefty. I'm loose on a Saturday too. Woohoo! Thank you, brother, for coming into the stream. Holy shit. one of my favorite people has graced us with his presence. Yes. Here's the thing. While I was just talking about Cole and Bees, let me talk about Lefty for a second too. The thing with Lefty is I love Lefty's live because they're just so freaking honest. Like, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care what he says. He doesn't care, what he dings on or doesn't ding on. Like, I just dig Lefty's lives. I wish I could catch him more often. But I enjoy him every time I do. And for me, it's tough. Obviously, I've got a really crazy work schedule. I've got a wife who's sick with cancer, and we're dealing with that all the time, every 24/7, every day. But there are a lot of people out there I really dig, and Lefty is certainly one of those people. We were just talking about the Devo Stout a few minutes ago too, hoping, Lefty, that there will be another drop for those maybe sometime after the holidays when people have some money again, right? That would be great. I would love to see those because when they dropped the first time, I was flat ass broke and couldn't afford another knife if I wanted to, not even with Cecil, which I love. Okay, let me get a few more comments in here. I think everyone has a different level of knife YouTubery, if you will, or the amount of knife lives people watch. Correct. I mean, there's a lot of channels I like, but I can't catch everybody every week. I just can't do it. I can't catch everyone all the time. Interaction with subscribers. Also, don't forget about your pocket checks. Yes, interaction with subscribers. That is true, right? And that's kind of why I like doing these. I like to be able to talk to people, or sometimes people have questions about knives that they don't feel comfortable throwing up on a knife review video, but they're willing to throw it up here in a chat and ask people or ask me. And I love that. Byron Kennedy's got a concept. Shikari M390 in carbon fiber and an all-day necker by Off Grid. Like it? Let's see who else threw up some stuff here. Anybody else with pocket checks? Yep, there's the Devo knife link right there. I'm carrying a Shaman today. I will also say this. Right now, the thing I'm the most excited about coming out in the next handful of months is the new Devo knives, specifically the Growler. I'm still waiting on Cole to send me his to check out. The Growler, the Mash, certainly, and then the new knives from Jacob Lundquist. Like, I love the variant PE, and I'm really looking forward to the little small one. I already forgot the name of what that's going to be. And then the Veritas. Oh, I'm very excited about the Veritas, guys. But yes, Kevin and Colin's knives, the Devo knives, looking forward to those releases. And then a couple of knives from Jacob, for sure. Let's see. What night on the town did you need the 119 for? I want to party with Nabum. Oh, okay. That's something different. Paper Tiger jumped into the chat. Lefty says, hey, all driving, so listening. I have a Mordax in Magna Cut. Pretty dope. Nice. Anything in Magna Cut's pretty dope, dude. Let's see, now that they've figured out where to heat treat the damn shit at. Nick Martino says S45B in Malibu, Olight Warrior Mini, and my Top Street Scalpel 2. Very cool. Scott said Mountain Dew is finally adding alcohol. Yep, to make drinking that sugary sweet, super caffeinated beverage a little bit more worthwhile. Thank you, Scott. Oh man, let's see. Yeah, we are dropping some in aluminum, carbon fiber next week. Next week, holy shit. Well, all right. Well, I might have to go out and sell a few things so I can afford the Cecil one. You're killing me, brother. You're killing me. That's probably one of the things is sometimes I'm so frustrated because like a lot of knives that I like drop like boom, 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 like one right after the other. There's no spacing in between, right? And I get it. Companies or knife designers that are trying to get their product out and their brand built have to do that on their own timetable. But man, it does suck sometimes when you're like, I just bought one of these. Oh shit, I gotta buy one of those. Right? That's never fun. Let's see. Bear Doom says, Scott N, yes, it's like hard seltzers and dew flavors. Oh, all right. Yeah, I guess I could see that. They've got all different ones, right? They got the Code Red and Purple Passion, or I don't know what the hell they call that, but there's some that have some weird ass food colorings in them that look like they glow. They make you glow in the dark and shit like that. But yeah. So Let's see. First time going to your stream. This is awesome. All my favorite people are here. Yeah, I mean, dang Ross, there's usually about 25 people here on a Saturday. It's only the third one, by the way. It's the third one. But on Tuesday nights, I get like 50-ish people, maybe 60 sometimes, right? Or right around there. I always tell people if I break 60, I'm going to sing. And I don't know if that's why nobody wants to come to the stream and pop us over 60. But I used to play in a band and play guitar and sing and all that stuff. So I keep dangling that carrot, hoping that one of these nights the stream will fill up with enough people that maybe I'll have to put up or shut up. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Jason Brown says, all this penguin talk, now I'm flipping my large penguin. Yes. Yep. There is a QSP's coming out with an XL penguin, right? That's already, the prototype has already been passed around. Cole and Kara are super sweet people to meet in real life. They are amazing. Yeah, I mean, I believe it or not, I've actually had a few more conversations with Kara behind the scenes than I have with Cole recently anyway, just because I'm doing some new stickers. So in case I didn't mention that, Fully Deployed episode is going to be coming out. Where the heck is it? Bam. Episode 7 of Fully Deployed is coming this month before the end of September. But I already ordered stickers. So I will have Fully Deployed stickers to give out as swag for my fall and winter giveaways and things like that. And if you don't know what Fully Deployed is and you're new here, and then you need to go over to my channel and look in my playlists. Go to the playlist button. By the way, that's something I did recently for you guys. I organized more of my playlists. So there's a playlist for shorts, there's a playlist for knife reviews, and there is a playlist for Fully Deployed. So you can watch all the episodes 1 through 6 or 7 that I think I have out now. And that is basically knife puppet theater. It is not knife reviews. It is knives as characters talking about things that go on in the knife community. We did a Blade Show one. Lefty is in one of them. Matisfaction's in one. Satu Dave has been in one. Cole from Tri-State has shown up in one of my lives as a character. So, I mean, not my lives, but my Fully Deployed. So go check that out. If you're not familiar with it, go over and hit the playlist. I've been trying to organize the channel a little more. I'm going to go further and break down into categories. I'm going to have fifth pocket knives and fixed blades and then, budget folders and things like that. So it's a little easier for people to find content. Let's see. I've been skipping some comments, so let's see where I left off. Holy crap, this thing jumped a lot. I'm sorry if I missed some of you guys. Top Dog says, I just want to say something. Have the people that are making comments about Bees thought about contacting him and telling him? He's very open to feedback. Good point. And again, I don't necessarily know that, don't get me wrong, I didn't bring that up. I didn't bring up seeing a little bit more sort of smooth advertising in his lives as a negative necessarily, just sort of a little bit of a change, right? So, but I agree. If you don't like his lives because you feel like there's a little bit too much promoting, get a hold of him, right? Brian is a good guy. There's no doubt about that. Every time I've ever contacted him about anything, he's always been helpful. He's thrown my live. He's mentioned my giveaways and my live streams and all kinds of stuff. So I agree with Top Dog. If you think that you're kind of waffling a little bit on whether you are still liking his stream, give him a shout. He's definitely receptive and approachable, even through emails and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, Beard Doom says, I agree, Top Dog. Yep. Bees loves feedback. He'll at least consider everyone's suggestions. He's a genuine person. Totally agree with that. Oh, yeah. Okay. Eionan read my DM on IG. Read my DM on Instagram pronto. Okay. Let me go over to, hold on one second, folks. Let me go over to Instagram here. Let me go over to Instagram. Oh, okay. Well, that's very cool. All right. Well, that's something that we're going to do at the end of the stream then. Good news for you folks who decided to pop in on a Saturday. Hint, hint. All right. Bearded Doom has done something really nice. And I'll tell you about that when we get toward the end of the stream. Michael Morgan, prime your moderator skills, buddy. And Gonzo, prime your moderator skills. Hint, hint. Okay, so here we go. Uh, I don't know where this came from. Stacy says, yeah, Kevin's an asshole, but I still love him anyway. Are you talking about Lefty? Holy crap. Anyway, like, matter of fact, his comment is the very next one. Lefty says, thanks, man. I appreciate it, brother. Love your channel as well. Fully Deployed is my favorite episodic show on YouTube. Well, thank you, man. That means a lot to me. I've had a lot of fun with some of your content. Obviously, I spoofed the whole Lefty as a righty thing recently. And that was a lot of fun to do. And that's the thing. When I started doing Fully Deployed, I was trying to do them every 2 weeks. And at that particular time, I had more time in my schedule. And I was looking for funny things that were going on or interesting things that were going on in the knife community. And I had time to attend more lives and watch more videos and see what was going on a little bit more. And so I was able to put them out kind of regularly. But now that my schedule's changed a little bit, I find that I have to find the time to do them. And then I really want to put together good script material. So you'll see them regularly, but they might not be every 2 weeks. They might be once a month for now until I get back to a place where mine and my wife's life is a little less chaotic. And hopefully when her cancer battle is won and she's feeling better, I'll be able to do a little more with those. But they will come out periodically whenever I think something's humorous or fun. And I'm glad that you guys like them. I've had a tremendous amount of fun making them. I will continue to do them. And there will be stickers. There will be swag. All right. Jason Brown says, Iggy, me and my friend Jason Bird went to Blade Show together. They did a drawing for 2 knives on the last day at the QSP booth, and we both won a large penguin. Awesome. That's very cool. My buddy Neil, former coworker, good friend, he says, lounging on my couch wearing shorts, nothing in my pockets today. That's okay. That's okay. I miss Bees and Casey's streams. I missed everything, it seems. I don't know about that, Scott. You're in a lot of streams, man. You were involved in a lot of streams. And you've also got stuff you do for the community, so we appreciate that. So it seems like we kind of ran pocket checks out for the most part, but throw it up if you're in here. I'm really kind of playing off the chat today. And the other thing I want to say is a couple of quick shout outs. I want to shout out my wife, obviously, for her battle that she's waging right now, and she's doing great, and she's being so brave and so amazing through this whole thing, despite everything that she's having to go through. Uncle Cow, a lot of us know him, Josh, Uncle Cow. He moved, he's in a new environment, a new place. It's very stressful for him, but shout out to Uncle Cow. I hope that situation works itself out so that you can find at least some comfort level there or whatever ends up happening. But just know that the community's behind you, all right? And then anyone in the community who's been sick or feeling down lately, we love you guys. All right. So I don't want to get too sappy, but listen, I do care about the 50, 60, 70 odd people that come into my streams all the time and show up here, plus all the other knife channels that I interact with. So, like Nick Martino said, if we care about you, we probably care about your family too. Let's see. Microtech. Scott says Microtech has announced they're working with Laren Thomas to optimize their Magna Cut autos. Well, that's fantastic news, mostly because I think any knife company that wants to use a certain type of steel should be working closely with the people who developed it, or at the very least, the people who manufacture it, to make sure that their quality control on that steel is good. In the beginning, there was a few knives out there in the wild that there was some I won't say controversy, but there was some less than optimal results from the edge retention and things like that. And then this whole subject of heat treatment came up for Magna Cut. And now it seems like they might have finally got that under control, although it seems like there are some manufacturers out there who still think that it's going to be okay to run it a little soft. I don't know whether that's going to, in the long term, whether that's going to affect their sales or their, or any of that stuff. But I applaud anybody who works to get the numbers right and to get the quality of their product correct. So even though I'm not the biggest Microtech fan, I'm really not, that's a good thing. If you're a Microtech fan, then yeah, you want Laren Thomas to be involved in making sure Magna Cut performs the way it is supposed to, because he's the guy who invented it, right? Along with in a cooperative way with Crucible. Number 120 was a tri-state member drawn as the big winner, but Cole had to run the picker again. Yes, he had a special thing for his actual channel subscribers, paid channel subscribers. There was a bigger drawing that you can only be in um, if you don't know. Lefty says, top dog, I know I missed the comments, but Bees knows he is insufferably energetic and over the top. It's what makes him popular, but also what keeps people away. I love the man, but can't watch. So yeah, again, and that's Lefty. What you're basically saying is, your opinion of that, and that's cool. I get that, right? And that's why I say like not every channel's for everybody. Even if you like the person, even if they're a good person, you're not always going to be able to watch everybody's stuff. There are a few members of the community that I like, but I can't watch their reviews, say for instance, because I can't. I don't like the way they're formatted. I don't, whatever it may be. There's always little things. I remember Neve saying to me one time, some people don't like to watch reviews because you don't have a good enough mic and there's a little pop in it once in a while, or they can hear, you breathing or whatever. For some people, it's literally that ridiculous, right? But other times it's just a stylistic thing, and that doesn't make anybody a bad person. It's just a stylistic thing. So again, I enjoy a lot of channels. There's some channels I get to catch weekly because of my schedule, and other channels that I don't get to catch all the time. But when I do, I really love it. I feel like it's a treat. BOD says Kara's a sweetheart. I can't believe she managed to keep the South Park Jesus hidden for nearly a month. I know it's 6 feet tall, right? Where do you hide a 6 foot South Park Jesus right, from your husband for an entire month, right? You stuff it behind the water heaters, right? Or someplace he never goes, right? You stuff it somewhere he never goes. Iggy says, I love bees and Friday night at the Hive. I was just kind of surprised at the tone yesterday. It was usually always super positive and fun. I'm sure it was a fluke. I look forward to it. Yeah, and that's another thing, folks. Everybody has bad live streams, right? I've had a few. Everybody has bad live streams where they just they're not clicking that day, or you come on air and you want that to be your time to cut back with everyone and to enjoy the community, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So everybody can have a bad night. I would definitely never judge anybody in this community on one bad live stream unless, they started spewing out something verbally vitriolic or racist or homophobic or whatever. Like that would be different if somebody like suddenly like, turned colors, so to speak. But one or two bad live streams is not something that I would ever judge anybody by. Top Dog said, it's all good. The community has all different people, and that's what makes it fun. Casey is different than Bees, and Bees is different than you. It's what makes a fun and interesting community. I totally agree. I like different live streams for different things. So, um, some live streams I can sit down with a couple fingers of scotch and get a little buzz going and feel like, woohoo, this is the funnest thing ever. And other live streams I don't need that for because they're just freaking hilarious, right? So anyway, I did that. I did the shout outs, and what I wanted to talk about real quick before I talk about some music was I wanted to mention, we've been on an hour basically, so that's pretty cool. An hour's gone by super fast. I wanted to ask people, how did you go from carrying a knife? Now, I've carried a knife all my life since I was a little kid. And if you never heard that story, well, maybe I'll tell it again one day on a live stream. I know a lot of you folks have heard my knife story about how I got my first pocket knife. But how did you go from carrying to collecting? Where, in your opinion, was that tipping point? So, what did you start out carrying? What was the knife, or what knives, or group of knives, or specific knife did you carry? And then what was the tipping point? Where did you realize that you were going to go from being somebody who had one, two, three, four, five knives that maybe you used for different purposes to being somebody who collected knives, like most of us do, right? That's what I'm asking. So, where was that change for you? Was there a specific knife? Was there a moment where you just said, hey, I like this knife I just picked up and I'd like to see what else is out there and want to start collecting? Because I wasn't always a collector. I was a person who used knives and had a couple of smaller collection, a couple of each knives that I kept off and on for years and rotated around. And then there was one specific moment where I decided I wanted to start actually really collecting knives, like really getting into it. So I'm just curious where that is for you guys. So let me go down here a little bit and we'll see if we can get some comments on that. Yeah, I do agree with Lefty. He says, "Yeah, you have to be able to take criticism and also make fun of yourself. Life is too short to have a stick up your ass." I totally agree. I totally agree. There's people who come in my stream once in a while and pick on me. I don't mind it. It is what it is. None of us are perfect people, so we all have our demons, right? Constructive criticism is a great thing if it's delivered as constructive criticism. It seems people today only know how to attack and defend. Yeah, and I don't think that's a case here in this stream. I don't think anybody's trying to attack anybody. But as an overall general statement, Bearded Doom, yes, I agree that's true. I do have one more thing. I forgot. It's a mini pocket axe. I think Marbles makes it. So I'm waiting for you guys to tell me you, um, what you what knife or what series of events made you go from a person who carries a knife to a collector. I'll show you what I got in my pocket because I forgot. So I didn't have a lot of knives today. I was going out the door and I grabbed this, the Jason Grant Grippa. This one is in black and satin. So a lot of you folks are familiar with this very popular knife at this particular moment. Very, very cool knife made by Best Tech. I've always got my little classic Swiss Army knife. This one's the SD Classic. I don't know, I got about 10 of these or so. I1R2 Pro in black because I like to have a flashlight, even when I'm wearing something like a pair of sweatpants that I can't have anything too heavy in. And then because I had a satin blade in my pocket, I'm carrying a Mrs. Edge embossed microfiber Hank. Most of you know how I feel about satin. I think it sucks because it gets all fingerprinty, even though it looks nice. So if it's a working knife, I'd rather have stone washed, acid washed, bead blasted, something like that, that I don't have to keep wiping my fingerprints and smudges off of all the time. Anyway, that's what I got in my pocket for today. So let's see what else we got going on here in chat. I'd be willing to bet 95% of people buying knives would never know if a steel is up to par or not, if it weren't for YouTube channels doing dimple testing. Correct. So there's a few people out there doing it. Obviously, Transparent is one of those people who's tested a lot of knives, and it's good to know. Obviously, it is. I mean, if somebody's advertising a top end quality product, but they're giving you a crappy heat treat, then you got a knife that's a showpiece, right? And I'm not calling anybody out specifically. I'm just saying that generally speaking, right? The most important thing you do with that knife is use that blade to slice through stuff, to cut through stuff. So if that heat treat is not done properly, then that knife is not going to do what its number one function in the world is for. If you just buy knives to look at them and fidget with them, then I guess you don't care whether the heat treat's okay. But if you're actually going to cut stuff with it, you want it to work. And hopefully don't want to have to be sharpening it every day. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Matisfaction. Here, this is one of my brother minions. He has come in. The Squirrel King has entered the secret lair where all of us minions are hanging out here on Saturday. Welcome in, brother. Only 3 weeks until the Arizona Knife Meetup, which I will be hosting here this time. Obviously, part of that is because I don't want to have to travel to Phoenix, and I want to be here next to Mrs. Edge at least through this period of time. So let's see. Dang Ross says, I fell asleep last night watching bees. Oh boy, what did I miss? Yeah, I didn't. I only caught the first hour or so, and then I had to get off. So I don't know what. It seemed pretty good in the first hour, but I have no idea what happened in the live after that. Most of the lives I currently watch, I'm there for the person way more than the knife or the pieces of gear. Totally agree. I'm not going to get back into this, but we're all here for the people, right? So we're here for the people. I like to think you guys tune in to watch me because I typically bring up good chat topics. Every Tuesday live, I always have a chat topic. I always ask people stuff like, how did you get into knife collecting? Like today, that's what I'm asking. There's always something, right? Or I'll throw something extra in, like when we do pocket checks. I want to know, like, what sneakers is everybody wearing? Or what pants or clothes do you prefer to carry your knives in, right? Because if you're a new person and you're coming into the knife community new, you want some guidance right? Maybe you haven't put any thought into that and you're starting to collect knives and you're like, what should I wear? What pants should I have on? What should I carry an EDC pouch to put other stuff in, right? So that's why I like to constantly throw that stuff out to you guys. Like, who carries a flashlight? A couple weeks ago on my live, I asked, what's the most used EDC item in your bag? Or on your person? You know, what's the most used EDC item? For me, it's actually not a knife most of the year. It's a flashlight because I work at a golf course and I'm the setup guy. I'm in there early in the morning before it's light. And a good portion of the year, I need a flashlight. And what flashlight I carry varies throughout the year too, because there's days where there's less darkness. And then there's times coming up like over the winter here where I'm going to have a flashlight that clips onto my bill so that I can walk around for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the dark and get all the tasks done that I need. So a knife is not actually, at least at work, a knife is not actually my most used pocket item. But again, let's see if there's some answers about what got you into knife collecting. O-Tip's in here too. What's up, O-Tip? Let's see. I'm not sure what Nick was talking about here. He said, mine came in a battle box. That's really what turned me into actively collecting. Okay, so you got a knife that came in a cool box, and that was like, yeah, this is not something you get when you buy a knife at Walmart or you walk into the Big Five or Dick's Sporting Good and purchase a Chinese Kershaw, right? So that's a little different. Scott says the Beard of Doom. There are a lot of customs in 154, both versions, and all around great steel. I agree. 154 is not a bad steel at all. I have it on a bunch of knives and it's great. It works fine. Other than intended purposes says after I got out of the army, I wanted a new knife. I bet you did. Because what I was carrying was old and wearing out. So I went to a knife and gun show in the Cow Palace. I bought 6 knives that day. And there you go. Voila. There's how knife collecting starts. You go in there looking for one new knife, and you realize when you walk into a show like that there's a whole bunch of different knives out in the universe, not just the little handful of them that you've had. Matisfaction says, I was a Cold Steel fan. Then I discovered knives can have good action. Touche, sir. Then I collected knives with good action, and there's more than lockbacks. There you go. So see, that's the thing, right? You get one knife, you've had it for a while, you're happy with it because you don't know any better. You don't know other stuff out there exists. But then you need to replace that knife, or you're looking to upgrade that knife a little bit, and you move to something else. Let's see who else is in here. Matisfaction. I'll never get my Cold Steels, just too fun. O-Tip says, I haven't left my cave, so I rated a good day, going to walk my dog in a bit, but I like that. Awesome. Yeah, definitely get outside for sure. I've been trying to do that a little bit more lately. Yesterday, I went out after I got out of work and I just literally hung out and I put the umbrella up for some shade and I just floated around in the pool for an hour. And it was really nice just to get outside and just look up at the sky and get some fresh air. Lefty. Oh, I'm interested in lefties. Lefty says, I didn't decide to collect. Shabazz and Slicey did that for me. Interesting. Okay, Slicey's no longer around, but everybody knows who Nick Shabazz is. I had a few knives was interested in. Then YouTube sucked me in and I found the community on Instagram. Then it was game over. Let me tell you what, no truer statement has ever been said out of Lefty's mouth right there. Then it was game over. Because Kevin is 100% down the knife and fidget rabbit hole. He's deep down. He's about to kick open a little door and see a giant rabbit sitting at a table with tea, right? That's what's about to happen with him. He's right there on the edge of never land with his collecting. So, and my hat's off to you, brother. You got some cool shit, but you got way more stuff than I could ever collect, man. I have to just kind of stick to knives because if I got into too deep into fidget gear, I think I would fall down that rabbit hole too. BOD says, I've been carrying most of my life. It was Elijah Isham and Israel Bacchus designs that began my collecting. And I went 0 to full dress customs quick. That's unusual. Most people kind of ease into it. they kind of ease themselves into it, right? So you just were like, I like these, I'm going there, right? Native Wildman says, I use the knives I like and try new things, and they keep adding up. Yeah, exactly. So I think for me, I'll tell you guys for me before I keep going. For me, what happened was I had different knives most of my life from the time I was a kid. And then I mostly carried US made Kershaws. I liked the knockout. I still have that knife. It's one of my favorite knives to this day. 14C. Like that knife came out in 14C, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's time, I think it was like $60, $59 I spent for that or whatever. And that thing cut through everything and held an edge great. And it was all aluminum handles and everything. So it held up really well. So I had that for a long time, but I had other knives too. There were a couple of jobs I had where I couldn't carry a knife, a big knife. So I had a little Gerber I carried around, a piece of shit. But then I think it was around my 48th or 49th birthday, maybe about 5 years ago, something like that, 4 or 5 years ago. I decided that I wanted to buy myself something nice. I was watching Tactissy, right? Who's no longer a content creator, but was a big part of the knife, pew pew and knife community. And she was talking about knives, and she actually mentioned the knockout, which I had, and I was like, I got that knife already. And then she was talking about like, sometimes you have to make that next step up into that next category to see if you really feel like that's for you. So I bought a Benchmade, $160 Benchmade Mini Boost, and I freaking loved it. And I realized that I was missing out on some really cool knives. And that I still have that knife. And that was the beginning of me starting to buy knives. And then I started buying more knives. I started buying more Benchmades. I started buying more Kershaws. And then I found out that ZT existed, and they were the better made US Kershaws. And I own a whole slew of those knives as well. So that's kind of how I got into it, into the collecting part. I'd always had a contingent of knives for different purposes: work, off work carry, going out, fixed blades, camping knives, etc. But that was where I really began collecting. Was that first Benchmade was what did it for me. Lefty and your kid can't be embarrassed by their dad who makes knives and has knife friends, fidget friends, etc. No, hell no, man. Lefty's a good guy, man. Um, these kids don't need to be embarrassed by him, right? Walking around shaking a kangaroo ball sack all the time, right? Nothing to be embarrassed about there. Nick Martino, someone could come at night and switch all our steels to 154 cm. We probably never know the difference. Most people. I don't disagree with that, right? Again, unless you're using a knife all the time, you're not going to probably notice a difference between. You'll notice a difference between a really inexpensive steel like an 8CR or something like that, right? Or 440A or C, although 440C used to be the gold standard for many years in knife. But you might notice a difference between a lower end steel like that and say something like 154 cm. But I don't think most people, the way they use their knives, are going to notice a huge difference between 154 cm or CPM 154, whichever, and say M390, S35, right? You probably won't notice a big difference. Most people wouldn't know. I think you're right. That's why I'm not a steel snob. Now, the price that I spend for a knife, I expect to get a certain level of steel, right? But I'm not necessarily expecting that it has to have the best steel in the world just because I spent this much money for it. I think there's always trade-offs for knife manufacturers and knife designers. And so you try to find a steel that most people will be happy with and still be able to sell your design. Right? I mean, that's really what it's all about. Darnell says he started when the pandemic came in with prepping, buying extra food, water, and EDC items. He only had fixed blades, and now he's learning about folders. Well, there you go, right? So they both have their place, right? There are advantages and disadvantages to both of those knives, but generally, the good ones can kind of overlap into both categories. There's things you can get away with using a properly designed fixed blade for that you'd normally use a folder, and vice versa. There's some good folders out there that can do some of the tasks that a fixed blade would do. But that's also why we have different categories of knives for different tasks. Michael Morgan says, I remember carrying a Victorinox and stuff when I was younger, only last 2 years into collecting. So yeah, pretty recent for you, right? Right? Some people on here probably been collecting for many, many, many years. That's fine. I've been into knives my whole life, but I didn't start collecting until about 5 or 6 years ago. Paper Tiger says, I got a cold steel original tie light in titanium at my first job at a knife shop. Oh, so you worked at a knife shop. That's interesting. The tale of my life was written at that point. The tale of your wallet was written at that point, brother. The tale of your wallet. Scott M says, Nick Martino, I agree. I never really pushed the boundaries of any of my steals. Iggy says, I have always carried a knife, usually a traditional. Then I discovered modern knives about 15 years ago. I went through the whole Kershaw thing, then discovered higher end knives, and it's all been downhill from there. That's, again, a blossoming discovery of what else is out there for knives. But when we joke about it being all downhill, it's like it's all downhill for your wallet. It's all downhill for your budget, right? The money that you used to spend on little silly things like me. Like how many of you guys have done this? How many of you guys have done it? Here's a better question for you guys. How many of you guys, right? And it may not be knives, it could be something else. Like for Neil, it might be a new record album, right? My friend Neil, who comes in the stream here, because like me, he loves music. But we'll just focus on knives for the moment. How many of you guys and gals that are on the stream today have walked into the grocery store to do your weekly grocery shopping, looked at something on the shelf that you like, a snack, something that you can pack with you for your lunch, maybe something that you like to have at home once in a while you're, hanging out on the live stream or watching TV or whatever, and said, if I buy that, I won't have enough money for that knife this week. I've done that. How many of you have done that? How many of you have decided not to buy something that you'd probably like to have, but you don't really need because you want to buy a knife? I guarantee there's going to be an awful lot of hands raised in this live stream. I know. I'll bet you 90% of you guys that are in here today, and there's over 30 of you, I'll bet you 25 or 30 of you, somewhere in that number range, have probably done that, have probably thought to yourself, if I buy that new pair of socks, I won't have money for that knife. Yep. Dang Ross says, I've always carried Kershaw's, CRKT, stuff like that. One day I walked into a real knife shop to replace a lost knife, and I've been addicted ever since. Totally agree. That's how it happens. All it takes is that one good knife. And for me, it wasn't even that I loved the Benchmade Mini Boost. I mean, I liked it. I dug it. I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't even do a ton of research. I just went to Benchmade's site because I didn't know a lot about knife collecting, but I knew the Benchmade name. Plenty of people I knew had Osborne's and other shit like that. And that was my second knife. It was a 940-2 Osborne, my second Benchmade. And that knife I literally wore out and had to replace the scales on it. I put so many hours of pocket time on it. But yeah, I mean, you don't know, right? And then and then all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, what about Civivi? What about these other companies out there? And that's where I started lurking in the knife community, and I started watching more stuff, and I started checking out a few lives and looking at people's reviews. And Nick Martinez says, I do love the random questions. What hat are you wearing, or shoes, or anything? Right. And I just do that to try to keep it different. Everybody does a pocket check. So for me, I'm like, hey, are you wearing a ball cap today? Well, what top are you wearing? If it's a shirt and it has a saying or a band or a logo, right? I've done that before. I go, what is it? Because I just think it's cool that we get to know each other a little bit through that. I'm not trying to be some kind of creepo who's like, are you wearing pink lacy panties? I mean, just because I wear those doesn't mean the rest of you do, right? But TMI. Stop, Ewan, stop. But the point is, it's just supposed to be to make everybody kind of, think a little bit outside of just the knives, right? Just like it helps the community kind of grow together. People get to learn a little bit about you. Nothing too personal, but something fun, right? Or sometimes it's practical, like the pants. I asked about pants, or what duty belts do you wear? What do you wear? If you wear a belt, what do you wear? Some people here, EDC pew-pews, right? And so you're going to wear something different if you're like me, right? If you're EDCing one of those, right, you need a different kind of belt. You need something that's not just holds up your pants, but is durable and stiff enough and rugged enough to keep all that stuff where it's supposed to be in case you ever need to deploy it, right? Hey, Grumpy's in the house. Here's another one of my minions and a guy who's helped me along a lot. Grumpy Grunt. Kudos to you, brother. He says, who wears pants and shoes? You don't really realize that. All the live streams that Grumpy has ever done, he's sitting there in his underwear, right? Because he never gets up. You don't ever see him from above the waist. I am wearing sweatpants. Here they are, right? But Grumpy never gets up. So Grumpy could be sitting there. Maybe he goes commando. Maybe he's sitting there the whole live stream, every live stream, with no pants, no shoes, and no undergarments. I don't know. Just where I feel like going today. That's where I am in my collecting, finding interesting versions of each type of steel, see if I can even notice other than stainless, not yet. And there you go, right? So there's different reasons people collect. I will tell you this. For me, I feel like I'm always on the hunt for that perfect knife. And what I mean by that is perfect knife in each category, right? Because if I was only looking for like one knife to buy, I could have stopped a long time ago. I could have probably just found a knife that did all the tasks I needed, put that in my pocket. And I've had a few knives like that and been okay and got away with everything. But I'm always looking for that perfect knife. I'm always looking to see who can come out with a knife that's just a little better fifth pocket knife than everybody else's. I'm looking for somebody who can come out with a little bit better gentleman's carry than everybody else's, right? And I'm looking for somebody who can come out with that everyday, medium to large size, folding knife that's just a little better than everybody else's. So you find ones you really like, and then you go, this one's amazing, right? And then you find that one that you really like, and you're like, oh my God, this is the best knife ever, until something else comes in. So, I think people collect for different reasons, but certainly that's one of them. Let's see here. Dangra says, I've always been a mall ninja. I remember when I was a kid, malls were totally the thing. Like everybody hung out at malls. All my friends hung out at malls. Matter of fact, we used to cut school to go to the mall. Right? I went to a school that was set up like a college and it had periods and different buildings for different, math, science, English, all that stuff. And when you had a free period and you got to be 16, you didn't have to be on campus for those periods. So we would like drive off and go get food and go to the mall and come back to school. Sometimes we drink. All right. I'm a happy drunk though. I've always been a happy drunk. Let's see. It was actually a Gerber that got me collecting. I knew there had to be something better out there. Yeah. So it's funny. Everybody jokes about the Gerber parrot frame, right? It's a big joke knife in the community. When somebody says, "Oh, I got a cool knife," a Gerber, I have one of those. I carried one of those for a long time. Because the job I had, the only knife that they would let me get away with putting in my pocket, and it was only because I had a cool store manager, was a Gerber parrot. And that's it. That's all I could carry. Even though I use the knife every day. But that knife was a piece of crap. It wasn't one of my very first videos that I ever did. But yeah, I still have one of those kicking around here somewhere. I don't even want to give it away to somebody because it's such a crappy knife. But mostly I carried USA made Kershaws, and then I got into ZTs, and then I bought a Benchmade. And that was the end of the story right there. It was like Iggy said, it was all downhill from my wallet from there. Mike Jernek says, I had an old timer for 20 years. Then about 2 years ago, I saw an Osborne on Wrangler Star, and that led to all this. Funny thing is, I never got the full size. I got the mini. Yeah, but it's the same knife. It's just different. I mean, it's the same knife, just depending on what hand size. And again, like that size is more appealing to some people than a full size one, right? It's going to depend on your hand size, what else you carry, what tasks you carry out. But even though it's not necessarily a fancy design, maybe it's a boring design to a lot of people. If you are a knife collector and you do not own a 940 Osborne, one of the three variations of that knife, at least a 940, a 940-1, which is the expensive one, the carbon fiber and S90V version, or the one I prefer, the 940-2, which is S30V and G10 scales, you're missing out. You really are. You know what I mean? Maybe it won't be your most favorite knife, but it'll always be a steady, consistent performer. A no frills knife that does everything you ask of it. Pretty ruggedly built. You know what I mean? We'll slice through a lot of things. You can pry on stuff with it. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. It was designed to be a farmer's knife. So it's not going to be the fanciest, most coolest knife out there, but the 940 Osborne is a classic. No matter whether you like it or not, it's a classic. Matty needs good action because he uses his shit. Yep. He also needs to make sure it won't come deploy. It won't become deployed while he's trying to keister it. All right, Jake from Ohio State is in here. He says, "Yo, brother, what's going on? There's 33 people in here. Stick around because we will be doing something that you're going to want to hang out for." Let's see. Bobo Schnoggins, I bought a Buck Light in 1990 at the PX. Okay, so a veteran too. Welcome, brother. There's a whole bunch of veterans in here. I'm a Marine. Grumpy's a Marine. There's a whole bunch of people in this stream right now. Top Dog's a retired Master Sergeant. So, yeah, you're in the right place. There's a whole bunch of veterans in this part of the community, and specifically in my stream and some of the other folks that have channels here. So welcome, you're in the right spot. Anyway, he says, I bought it at the PX, carried through Desert Storm. I was in Desert Storm too. Same era. Broke the tip after I got out of the Army. About a year later, I bought a Spyderco Enduro at a gun show, then started noticing knives and buying. There you go. So you make that step to that one step up to that slightly nicer knife, and you realize, oh shit, this is really worth it. David Iverson says he's hello, he's busy here, he's listening. Thank you, brother, for listening. Thanks for popping in, saying hi. Appreciate all your thoughts and love and prayers too that you send to Mrs. Edge. So good to have you in here, even if you're just listening, bro. In time for story time, the first one is, so I don't really do story times on Saturdays, Jake. It's kind of going to be hit or miss. If I feel like doing one, I will, but it's not going to be an every week thing. That's really more reserved for my Tuesday night lives. But we have been talking about a lot of cool stuff. We have been having some yucks, and you will want to stick around till the end. All right, because something is coming up for there. Let's see. Yes, prayers for Mrs. Edge. Dang Russ says, I think the first knife I got that made me look at knives as more than just a tool was the Van Hoy snap lock. I'm not familiar with that. Let's see. O-tip. When my house burned down, I lost 34 pew-pews and about 25 knives. I was very lucky that some of my oldest knives were in storage at the time. Yeah. And that's a tough thing, right? But it does make you appreciate the things that you didn't lose, right? Hopefully you didn't lose any pets. Hopefully you didn't lose any family members, right? Those are the most important things because the knives and the pew-pews can, for the most part, can be replaced, right? Nick Martino says there were definitely channels like Gideon's Tactical, Really Big, Monkey Best Damn, EDC, Jeremy Sears. Those were a few that I used to watch. Cutlery Lover, Jeff, love them knives, right? So yeah, so maybe you were just interested in collecting and you started looking around on YouTube and you watched a few reviews and then lo and behold, somebody advertised their live stream and you ended up there. Like a few people in here tonight did, right? One of these people in here is brand new. I just saw his name, Bobo Schnoggins, right? This is his first live. He thought he'd pop in, right? And this is my chilled, laid back live where we just talk about whatever the hell we want. And we mostly been talking about knives. Cue Ball says, "Oh shoot, I'm late, but that's okay. You made it, brother. You are in. You are here." We were just talking about the knife that made you turn from a collector. I mean, from a user into a collector. Now I already know a little bit. I know that Cue Ball kind of sort of got going with collecting right around the time that COVID kicked in. But I'm curious what that knife was that made you go from a carrier of a pocket knife to a collector. So let's see. So Cue Ball says, sorry, was paying up to Instagram. Let's see. A lot of greetings going on. That's cool. Why, you know why that is? Because everybody loves Cue Ball, including me. Good friend of mine. Him, Maddie, both have become great friends of mine. Jake from Ohio State says, so that statement, Bennington knives my whole life, just started collecting. When do we consider a change over to collector? Is it money, amount of knives, being picky? Right. Well, that's kind of what I'm asking. Like, what was that point for you? Where did you go from, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knives, whatever, that I use for different tasks to you actively started looking at knives and buying them? Because I've got, I don't know exactly the count, but the last time I counted, I had 120 something knives. So I think I'm probably somewhere up around 130, if I were guessing, 130 knives, 140 knives. And it's not about how many you have. What I'm saying is, obviously, I'm a collector. And obviously, I have a lot of knives because I have a channel. Well, for those of you who don't have a channel but have a lot of knives, you're a collector, right? Some of the knives I bought have been so that I can review them for people. They're knives I think would be interesting. You know, I started out with budget knives, and that's still where I like to be. But obviously, my budget and my channel growth has allowed me to review nicer knives, right? But I still like to make sure that I throw in those the Best Tech Bandit $40 knives, right? So the people that don't want to spend on the high end knives can get those. But for you guys, there's always a point where you went from being just a user of a few knives to you started buying more, you started collecting more, you started looking for the next best thing. So it's just interesting topic to talk about, and that's what we're doing. So let's see. Been carrying a pocket knife for over 50 years, right? So again, carrying a pocket knife for 50 years is different than collecting. Where did you start collecting? Was it in the last 10 years? Was it so long ago you don't remember? I'm getting old. It's harder for me to remember things all the time. But what I'm getting at is, for some people, maybe you started collecting a long time ago. You just didn't realize it. So far, just a couple entry-level folders, nothing over $40. And again, there's a lot of good knives out there in that $40, $50 range or below, right? Especially these days. All right. There's lots of greetings going out. Good, good, good. Gillen's Edge. I do that all the time, but not for a knife, for a bill or for something from my wife. Yeah, that was what I was asking there, was saying, hey, who's ever basically walked into a place and thought, I don't really need that bad this week. I want that new knife, right? And I know a lot of you guys have probably done that. Neil McKenzie says, you think about buying one thing and wind up saying, oh, can I see that? Yes, that's true too, right? You walk in and you think you're going to buy something else, and then you see the knife counter, or you walk up to the knife counter expecting to buy a new knife and you see another one that you really, really dig, and you go, I could not go anywhere except work this week and not have to put more gas in my truck, right? Maybe I'll buy that extra knife until next, between now and next payday. It could be anything like that, right? Other than intended purposes, says Jason Brown, same here. I have 2 coin jars, quarters and dimes are for house needs. Nickels and pennies are for knives. Takes a long time to save up enough nickels and pennies to buy a knife, right? OTIP says David Iverson says he was given a Barlow at 7 years old and always have carried one ever since. Yep. So yeah, my first Barlow was at 10, and some of you guys know my epic knife story, and maybe I'll retell that at Christmas time when I do my Christmas giveaways. We'll see. For some of you folks who haven't been with me since the beginning, but most of you have. Grumpy Grunt says that's from a devastating level of keystring that is constantly occurring in and around your drawers. Satisfaction. Matt just can't get away from it, man. He just can't. Let's see if anybody else says. OTIP says, I was 6. My dad gave me a 2-blade case canoe to use for my chores on the farm. Yeah. This is Grumpy's response. This is Grumpy's response to whether or not he does lives with pants and underwear on. Balls out all the time. I knew it. I know my brother Marines pretty well. And Grumpy's one of those kind of guys. I could see him sitting there shooting review videos for knives, doing his sharp and to the point thing, and sitting there just commandoing it, man. Let's see. That's the beauty of being a monkey. You don't have to get up to go to the toilet. You just throw your feces wherever. Oh my God. All right. This has turned out to be a pretty fun live stream, guys. It really has. So Scott says, I envision each of you with the most clothes possible on, right? Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, right? What does Neil got to say? Neil says, New Jersey has more malls than any other state. It probably does. So, hey, Byron Kennedy, Here he is. Byron Kennedy. Yeah. O-Tip says, my grandpa told me every man should always have a pocket knife, handkerchief, wallet, and keys if he steps foot outside the house. Okay. Most of that seems like solid advice, right? The handkerchief these days is a little optional. It is a little optional. Let's be honest. I don't always carry a handkerchief because I don't always need a handkerchief, but I carry a fair amount, and I am lucky enough to have a wife who will make any size handkerchief or any style handkerchief I want, so I can carry what I like. But I agree, you definitely should have a pocket knife on you at all times. I mean, my story about how I got my first pocket knife, O-Tip, is freaking epic, and it explains why you should always carry a pocket knife. But Byron Kennedy, I feel bad, sir. I will tell you, I'll read your comment, but then I'm going to tell you why I feel bad, and I'm going to correct that. Byron says, I've always had knives, but I have a different take on it due to witnessing lives ruined by obsessions. I own 15 knives. If I want others, I must sell, swap, or gift. Okay. So I get that. I have walked into people's houses and they've had so many collectible things that they collect that you can't move in their house. Right? I've seen that happen. So it can take over your life sometimes, right? For me, I always just, it's all about responsibilities. If you're paying the bills, if you're taking care of your adult responsibilities and you want to collect knives because that's what makes you happy, go for it. But, everybody has to have their own parameters or their own limits for what they do, right? So in Byron's case, he likes to keep it in that range of 15 knives, right? And I can see that. You'd have a couple of each category that you really like to use. But Byron, last week, I missed your comment. I missed your comment at the end of my live stream. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that because I feel like we're at the spot where my live usually is kind of drawing to an end. And I didn't want to forget to talk about this. And this will make Neil very happy too. Neil, if you're still listening, this is where you want to actually focus in a little bit more because I'm about to talk about music. So last week, Byron asked me, he said, hey, who are your 3 favorite guitar players? Wow, that's a tough question to answer. But I'm going to answer that question for you, Byron, because I wanted to talk about music and I have a few record albums here. This is stuff I've been listening to lately, but it just so happens 2 of my 3 favorite guitar players are contained in these records that I'm about to show. So for me, I grew up on classic rock. And then I moved into kind of hard rock and then heavy metal stuff in the 80s. And that was when through the time I grew up and was playing guitar and in bands and singing and doing all kinds of things like that. And so for me, there were some key moments. Like I grew up listening to the Beatles, but they're not really my thing. I respect their place in music history. I respect what their popularity, how they sort of changed the music landscape, so to speak, and moved it a little more in the rock direction. But the Beatles are just not my thing. I enjoy listening to them, but I don't even put them in my top pantheon. So if you want to tune out of my live stream now, feel free to do that because I'm not a true Beatles lover. So for me, even though I grew up in my household, there was a lot of Beatles being played. There was a lot of Elvis being played. There was a lot of country western being played. My dad liked that. My sisters and my older siblings were into stuff like Cream and Jimi Hendrix, right? And Led Zeppelin. But for me, there were 2 real aha moments in guitar. One was the first time that I heard Jimi Hendrix play. And I said, man, I don't know what he's got, but I want to do that. I want to learn how to make some of those sounds and play like he plays. And then on top of that, I kind of right in that same time period, I watched a PBS special that had BB King on it. And it blew me away. It blew me away. Like Jimi Hendrix was flash and pyrotechnics and just made all these sounds that nobody else really had ever made on a guitar, and in a way that nobody else had ever really done it. And what happened for me was I was blown away by that. But then I watched this PBS broadcast of BB King, and this guy is just laying his heart and soul out there, and he's playing very few notes, okay? But he makes every single note that he plays count. Every melody, every bend, every soulful wail of his voice was accompanied by just the right note on the guitar. So it's like a contradiction in terms, right? You got one guy who's got all the flash and pizzazz and all the killer licks that nobody's ever heard, really, right? And then you got a guy over here doing the most simplistic thing in the most beautiful, soulful, bluesy way. Gorgeous little melodies and tiny little runs with a few notes in them. Okay? So now stick those two guys together like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So that really influenced who I liked. And for a while there, I was like Jimi Hendrix and BB King, right? And my next influence was early Journey. So Neil Sean, right? Again, take a little bit of blues, take some Jimi Hendrix like shit, jam that together. You got Neil Sean. You got one of the best melodic players of all time. But then a good friend of mine introduced me to Led Zeppelin. Now, here's how I got introduced to Led Zeppelin. I go over his house one time and we're listening to some music. And I remember listening to Foghat and some Eagles and some shit that I had already heard. And he goes, and at the end of the day, he hands me a cassette tape. Nothing written on it. He goes, hey, I made something for you. Take this home and check this out. He's a little bit older than me, like 2 years older than me. And he had a lot of records and stuff. So he goes, I made you a tape. I made you a mixtape, right? A tape of a band, right? It's a bunch of their songs. And he sends it to me and I go home and I listen to it. And it's like the material from like the first 4 albums up to this point. And I'm fucking blown away. I'm like, I go back to see him later that week and I'm like, who the fuck is this? Who are these guys? Who the hell is playing that guitar? And who is that crazy ass singer that does all this crazy wailing and high pitch? And who is that bass player? And who is that freaking drummer? Who the hell are these guys? He goes, that's freaking Led Zeppelin, man. Welcome to the club. So Jimmy Page is probably the guitar player that I think is the most versatile guitar player from that early era of classic rock that I've ever heard. 12-string, acoustic, beautiful passages, memorable solos, great hooks, great use of phrasing, just incredible playing. Okay, overall, probably the most well-rounded guitar player. And then there's some really good ones up here. See, Cuba just threw out a guy, Yngwie Malmsteen. Love Yngwie. Have almost all of Yngwie's early records. But we're talking about my top 3, right? I love Yngwie for something different. And actually, Yngwie's a good segue because Jimi Hendrix was good at one thing. Very forward-thinking, pyrotechnic guitar style based off of blues. And B.B. King, one of the kings of the blues, right? Robert Johnson, the father of the blues, right? But 3 kings, right? So I've listened to a lot of the 3 kings, right? And so that kind of grew that style. Like blues became rock, right? It really did. And so I went from seeing Jimmy as somebody who was great, but he was really great at one thing. And he didn't live long enough to find out if he was going to turn into a Page or somebody like that. So I really would say Jimmy Page would be number 1. Now, number 2 is not Jimmy. There was a time in my life when that was the case. But number 2 for me is the guy that plays guitar in this band right here. Okay? Joe Bonamassa. Okay? You can tell I like blues-based guitar players. If you don't own this record, if you like Led Zeppelin, if you dig Cream, if you like Deep Purple, or any of those other bands, better get your ass out there and buy this. Okay? Or download it or whatever you want to do. Okay? So this is a super group. This is Jason Bonham, the son of John Bonham, who was the drummer for Led Zeppelin, right? Derek Sharon, who's been in a lot of bands. Glenn Hughes sang for Deep Purple. I think Rainbow 2 was, for a brief period of time, was a lead vocalist and lead vocalist for Black Sabbath. He's been in a lot of projects. Black Country Communion, folks. Okay, check that out. But Joe Bonamassa, as good as his blues playing is, his playing on these albums, this is like his foray into rock and roll. This lets him just cut loose, show all his chops, show all his diversity. I think I told you guys in a previous broadcast, the Song of Yesterday off of this album is the closest thing you'll ever get to a modern day Stairway to Heaven. Okay. So these are some of the bands I like. This past week, I listened to this, Led Zeppelin Into the Outdoor. I have all the different covers of this, but they don't all have the little paper bags on them anymore. This is a vintage record. And I love this record because this record is all about love and screwing. And it's all about going from a young person to a young adult to a middle-aged person, and it ends with the sweetness of a long relationship that has turned into something constant and beautiful. Right? That's what I think of that record. So I like listening to that. So let's see. I'm going to take a look at some comments real quick because I did want to talk about music. Oh, so my number 3 would be Neil Schon, right? But I would definitely put Jimmy in the top 5 for sure. Paige would be there. Joe Bonamassa would be there. Neil Schon would be there. And I would put, and I'm talking about rock blues guitar players. There's some people that are amazing in other fields, right? Like if I were talking about classical guitar, it would be Julian Bream and Andre Segovia. Hands down. Those would be my 2 favorite guys. If I'm talking classical guitar, there's some others like the Romeros and people like that I really love too. But if I'm talking strictly classical guitar, those are my top 2. So my top 2 in the blues rock field would be the 3 guys I just mentioned. All right, so let's see who else. Jason Brown says never got into Zeppelin. Michael Morgan says so talented. Yep. Danny Carey is drumming elite. Yes. And Yngwie I love because he came on the scene and introduced something new too, right? With Cue Ball's comment, he introduced classical heavy metal. He took Paganini and Bach and Mozart and things like that and incorporated that into modern guitar playing and made it sound more modern and more relatable to people in that demographic, that 18 to say 30-year-old demographic. I mean, when you heard Yngwie's first record and you heard Far Beyond the Sun for the first time, it was like hearing Eddie Van Halen for the first time, right? When I heard the first Van Halen album, I was like, what in the holy hell was that? Right? What in the holy hell was that? Let's see. Those were the days making cassette tapes. Yes, I totally agree. Black Sabbath. Wow, their old stuff is so good. Yes. I mean, Black Sabbath, I would say right up through Sign of the Southern Cross, which is Mob Rules. I would say up through there, like Theo's first 2 albums from the early days up to that point, Sabbath was amazing at that point. Robert Johnson is amazing. No arguments from me, brother Jason. You won't get any arguments from Neil Mackenzie either on that one, you know? Yeah. So, somebody said David Gilmore. So the 4th album I was listening to just the other night, Dave Gilmore. Right? I mean, this is another one of those records. It's like, it's a classic. I think I have 3 different copies of this, all different issues and different conditions that they're in. But again, that's the beautiful thing about collecting music, right? And I just feel like with vinyl, there's a warmth to vinyl. There's I don't care if there's a little pop or a little fizzle in there once in a while. I don't really like listening to really, really gritty, noisy sounding records, but that doesn't bother me. I'm more focused on what I'm hearing than anything else. And I love picking apart the bands instrument by instrument. And when you do that, if you actually sit down and listen for just individual instruments through an album or a song, and then go back and listen for different ones, you really can grow a deeper appreciation for how talented some of these bands are. And Led Zeppelin was right up there at the top, let me tell you. Let's see. Other than intended purposes, if you like blues-inspired music, have you listened to Darius Rucker? Yes, I have listened to Darius Rucker's both some of his earlier stuff and since he's become more of a country artist. But again, a lot of people don't know him. They only know him from the one song with the one band, right? Nick Martino says that's a fantastic record. The most talented band that ever graced this planet is the Spice Girls. Discussion. I can see you, Matt. I can see you with some Vaseline, your favorite knife, and a Spice Girls record on going, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I'll show you what that's you. That's totally you, brother. Much love to you, man. All right. Satisfaction, you need to stop sniffing whatever you've been on. Well, Matt just set me up with a perfect zinger, so thank you for that, Matt. Jason Brown says, been playing the Sacred Souls LP to death lately. Best recent release to me right now. I'll have to check it out, man. So let's see. Byron Kennedy says, top three, Eddie Van Halen, Glenn Campbell, Buddy Guy. Great top three EE. You know, I'll throw in some other people, though. Country bluegrass guy who knew how to play blues and had an amazing technique, Roy Clark. I got a Roy Clark record he did with somebody else. I can't remember the guy's name right now. Is freaking phenomenal. His guitar work is a masterclass in playing. He knew when to play the right notes. He knew when to show off his speed. Roy Clark was way underrated. Most people only know what they saw on Hee Haw, and that his musical repertoire was so much bigger than that. So much. Dia was the lead singer for Rainbow. Yes, but so was Graham. I forget his name now. Graham, somebody like Rainbow had a lot of different singers. Let's put it that way. But Glenn Hughes was Deep Purple. He was part of, I think, the third or fourth incantation of Deep Purple, one of the later incantations of that. But anyway, yes. So yes, Dio was the lead singer of Rainbow. And then, man, Rainbow Rising. Rainbow Rising is one of those records you see where the rock world began to shift itself over toward more sort of hard rock, heavy metal, right? You would classify Rainbow Rising as one of the all-time great classic hard rocks, right just before the verge of heavy metal records ever produced. I guess it seems like a mental state for a collector. You have extra money, buy a knife, birthday, buy a knife, Christmas, buy a knife. Sorry, I'm way behind. No, that's okay. That's cool, man. So yeah, Yngwie and Schenker. Yes. So Michael Schenker's another one. Michael Schenker is just amazing, right? Many issues with substance abuse in his life. But as a guitar player, his feel, his licks, the stuff that he played was all super, super cool. Yngwie is more of a technically brilliant guitar player, whereas Schenker was one of the best guys in the sort of the hard rock forum for feel. Schenker's feel was incredible. Had good technique too. But like Yngwie, when Yngwie came out, everybody's like, what the fuck is that? How did he do that? How did he accomplish that task? Dimebag, yep, there's another one. So I knew we'd have a bunch of stuff, right? My favorite Floyd is Division Bell, another good record. Yep, absolutely. Nick Martino says, I'm not going to argue, Brittany. Neil McKenzie, who the hell is Bieber, right? That's what Ozzy said. Who's Bieber? Oh, you guys are killing me. Iggy says, sorry, guys, going to sit down for dinner with the family. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Okay, Iggy, take care. Have a good night. Thanks for coming in. Alan Parsons Project, Tales of Mystery and Imagination record. So a lot of people don't know this, too. You know who produced this record? Alan Parsons. Producer, also a performer. Okay, so hey guys, some people are starting to jump out for dinner. I get that because we're getting a little late. Byron Kennedy says, you've never heard Glenn Campbell and Roy Clark dual duet play Ghost Riders in the Sky. Look it up on YouTube. Yep, know what you're talking about. Awesome. Best vocalist, Ronnie Dio, Freddie Mercury, and Ozzy. I'll give you I'll definitely give you the Ronnie Dio and the hard rock. Freddie Mercury is for overall delivery. Ozzy might be one of the most unique voices. One of the most unique voices for sure. There's a lot of vocalists out there who have a lot more range and breadth of spacing and phrasing. But definitely when you hear Ozzy, you know it's Ozzy, right? No, there's no doubt about that, Native Wild Man. And Ronnie James Dio, masterclass on how to sing rock and roll and heavy metal. And Freddie Mercury, just the man was incredible, just absolutely freaking incredible. He could sing anything if he really wanted to. Before I go, I'm surprised no one has said Steve Vai. That's one of the best. Steve Vai's awesome. Steve Vai's totally awesome. There's so many great guitar players out there. Man, feel wise, I love George Lynch. You know, he's another guy I really dig. There's a lot of guitar players I really, really respect out there. So, Eionan's Edge, if you want to talk voice, Meatloaf. Meatloaf definitely had to go, but I think Meatloaf's delivery was better than his vocals, meaning the way he delivered the lyrics of the song was pretty amazing for a guy who was actually a football player and decided, because he got injured, he decided to go to his second love, which was music. He didn't always think he was going to be a musician. Hold on. Cue ball brought up the big one. Okay. If you like hard rock and metal, if that is your thing, okay, cue ball, thank you. Thank you, brother. Don't dismiss Queensryche's Jeff Tate. The guy has pipes in. Also, Faith No More's Mike Payton. So go on YouTube and look up Queensryche, Take Hold of the Flame, live in Japan. That is a live version of the studio version of that song, Take Hold of the Flame, off their very first full-length record. And it is so good and so amazing that people on all kinds of music review channels have reviewed that. And the reaction is the same to that every time. Queensryche, live in Japan, Take Hold of the Flame is the song. Everybody's reaction, if they don't know Queensryche, is the same. They start listening to it and they go, okay, this guy's got a good voice. Yeah. And then they hear him start kicking into what he does, and everybody's reaction is the same. Jaw on the floor, eyes really big, wondering what they've heard. Go check that out. Okay. I believe, Neil, you're talking about Craig Chiquico from Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, and other bands later. Craig is a musical genius as well. I would put him up in that very same stratosphere as Neil Schon and some other people. Very versatile. Miles Kennedy. My modern day favorite band is Alter Bridge. So anything that Miles Kennedy sings is a win. He's probably one of the most talented vocalists that I've seen in many years. Yeah, Steve Perry. Yeah, Steve Perry. But everybody knows Steve Perry was a Sam Cooke fan, right? So that's where he took his style from. Steve was amazing, but he admitted that all the way that he sang was very much based off of Sam Cooke. So anyway, Top Dog says, this has been a great live. I really enjoyed the music discussion, but I have to make family dinner date. Y'all take care. All right, Top Dog, we'll see you soon. Okay, so moderators, please get ready. So what has happened here is Bearded Doom is going to offer up a free knife for a giveaway. So prepare yourselves, folks. A Sencut Saxy is what he is offering up to give away. And he is going to give that away on this live stream. So there's still 28 of you folks in here. Don't go away, because you have a chance to win right now, at this very moment, a Sencut Saxy. So I will throw up a number range, because we're going to do it the old school way. I will throw up a number range for you guys. There is 29 of you in here. Let's do 5 to 100. That's going to be the range. Don't do anything yet. Wait for Michael Morgan or for Gonzo to throw up a start. It's going to be the usual rules. You cannot come in here and snipe this giveaway. If you have not been in here the whole time, you are not eligible. I will not give it to you. That's all I'm going to say. All right? And I'm going to give you the number that we're going to go with. Okay? Here's the number. Fold it up on the window ledge right there. Michael Morgan's got the rules in. One guess only, one account per person. Closest without going over wins. In the event of a tie, we go to a knife off. Two men enter, one man leaves in a knife off. Closest wins. You must be 18 with a U.S. mailing address. Eionan screen is final. And the other thing is, I reserve the right to not send a prize to anybody I feel like is not a legitimate account. If I find out that somebody has multiple accounts, you will not receive that prize. I don't think that's going to happen in here tonight, but some of you folks know why I'm saying that. Okay, here we go. We're just looking for a start, and your number range is 5 to 100. Again, thank you, Beard of Doom, for offering to donate a free knife. So you got a giveaway here on a Saturday, thanks to Beard of Doom, right? His generosity knows no bounds. He's been so helpful to so many channels, and I really appreciate him coming over here and offering up something for you guys in the community. So again, Beard of Doom, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. All right, so they've started guessing. There's Michael Morgan has thrown up the start. Jan, you can guess. That's okay, man. Jan, you can guess, Jan. You're a regular guy. You're in my lives. You comment on my videos. It's okay if you just got here. You can guess, sir. All right? No problem. Yep. I agree with Matisfaction. You're always here. You can play. I don't mind that you showed up a few minutes late. All right? Okay. So 5 to 100, we got some good guesses here. Remember, closest without going over? All right. I see some people who got some decent guesses. All right. And somebody guessed it. Somebody guessed it. Yeah. I'm going to give you guys about another 30 seconds. And then Mimo, go ahead and throw up a stop. There's only 30 people in here. So give it about 30 seconds, Mimo, and then throw up a stop for me. All right. Somebody has guessed it. There is a winner. Yes, Beard of Doom, thank you for the giveaway. It's truly appreciated. That is from Darnell, and that sentiment carries across the board. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if somebody that I see in here on a regular basis pops in late and enters the giveaway. Yes, a fluid member of the community. That is true, JN. But yes, we all know who you are, so there's no issues with that. Darnell needs more knives. Yes, I agree. Darnell does need more knives. Yeah, that's true, right? Okay, we got a stop. Is the stop coming here? I think there should be a stop coming somewhere. There's still a couple guesses that rolled in. Darnell's just rolled in at 67. Sometimes I'm a vaporous member of the community. Let's see. Douglas needs more knives. Yep. All right. Waiting for the stop here. There it is. There's the stop. Okay, guys. I don't want to hold you up too much longer. So here's the deal. The winning number was 39. Mike Jernak. Mike Jernak is the only person I saw with number 39. So, yay for Mike Jernak. Yay that somebody who comes to all my live streams actually won a knife. And once again, thank you very, very much, Beard of Doom, for offering up this knife as a free prize. So, Mike, go ahead and get a hold of me through my email or Instagram account. Give me your contact information and address. I will send that over to BOD, and he will be sending you that knife directly. Once again, guys, had a great time here today. This live was really fun. Had a lot of good conversations, talked about knives, talked about music, got to talk about some guitar players, got to see a couple of my good friends in here, my close friends who I'm really excited to see in 3 weeks. I'm going to see Matisfaction, the Squirrel King. I'm going to get to see Cue Ball. I'm going to get to see Satu Dave. Nebu Cloud was in here. He's part of our group. Excited about seeing him again. Him and I really got along good the last time that we all met up. And there's 3 or 4 other people who are new to our Arizona meetup group who are coming in as well. But again, thank you to all of you guys for coming in here on a Saturday. This was a lot of fun, laid back, fun, and enjoyable. The rest of you guys that need to go out and make dinner, you can do that. And congratulations once more to Mike for, oh, wait a minute. Mike says, can you pass it on to Darnell? He has never, whoop, it just jumped on me. He has never won one, thanks to Eionan and Beard. Okay, well, there you go. That's this community for you. So Mike Jernak is going to defer his to Darnell. So Darnell, get a hold of me with your contact info. I think I already have it, but just send it to me again just in case, because I've been terrible while holding on to information lately. And I will get that information to BOD so that you can get your new knife. And now you do have a knife. That's really nice. That cost a little bit more money, right? And you didn't even have to buy it. That's the best part of it, Darnell. All right. So you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for stopping by here. And Neil McKenzie says, time to do some laundry. And again, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me for a couple hours. I will see a lot of you guys on Tuesday. Don't miss it. We'll have a fun time. And stay sharp, everyone. All right. I'm out of here. Have a good weekend, folks. Take care.